Sunnis and Shiites read exactly the same Quran. There's no difference between the Sunni and the Shiite Quran. All Muslims, regardless, read the same Quran. But Sunnis and Shiites did have separate collections of Hadith. So the Shiites also develop a collection of canonical Hadith, 4 books in particular that belong to the Shiites. But the Shiites, a lot of times the content, especially when it came to legal matters, might not have been wildly different. You'll find some of the same traditions in one text and in another. But the way Shiites compiled Hadith was distinctly different. The authorities for Shiites were distinctly different, and that really is the most important distinction between these two collections of canonical Hadith. So for Shiites, a couple of things. We haven't talked, I don't think, very much about Shiism here, but Shiites recognize that the Prophet's son-in-law and cousin Ali, and then 11 of the descendants of Ali through his daughter Fatima, as being imams, which has a technical definition for Shiites. And there are 12 altogether, Ali and 11 of his descendants. And these imams were considered to be people who, they didn't rise to the level of being a prophet like the Prophet Muhammad, but nonetheless they were considered to have, to inherit something of the Prophet's spiritual authority. They were considered to be infallible spiritual guides for Shiites, just as the Prophet was an infallible guide for all Muslims. That meant that in collections of Shiite Hadith, the Isnad did not, they also had Isnads, but the Isnad did not have to go all the way back to the Prophet. It could go back to one of the 12 Imams. And in fact, if you look at one of the earliest and most comprehensive collection of Shiite Hadith written by a scholar named Kulaini, you will notice that the number of Hadith that go all the way back to the Prophet are in the minority. Most Hadith go back to one of the Imams, and predominantly to the 5th and 6th Shiite Imams who were living, probably importantly, right in the time when Hadith started to be written down. That might be why those became particularly important. Shiite Hadith consist not only of traditions that go back to the Prophet, but go back to these 12 Imams. So that's one important difference. The other important difference is, of course, Shiites did not have the same universal trust in the companions of the Prophet that became so important in Sunni Islam. Shiites believe that Ali, rather than Abu Bakr, should have been elected as the caliph, the leader of the Muslim community. And since Abu Bakr was elected by the companions, right, Shiites believe that the companions were clearly not infallible. They clearly weren't perfect spiritual guides, because from the Shiite point of view, they had made this error. They had elected Abu Bakr instead of electing Ali. So for that reason, the Hadith that do go back to the Prophet only go through a very small number. They either come through the Imams themselves, right? Ali heard the Prophet say this, right, and going through from there, or to one of the few companions who had really supported quite clearly the Shiite cause.